What's up? This is Vince Carter. You're listening to 3 Point Conversion. Check it out.
Steve, they just seemed to come out really early and take a swing at you. Did you think your guys met that energy? Were you disappointed in your energy at the beginning?
I just think they physically took it to us tonight. You know, the offensive rebounds early in the game set a tone. You know, they got into us and didn't let us get into our offense. You know, we hung in there. We had a good second quarter to keep the game close, and we liked you know, the start of the third. You know, getting Steph some space, and we just couldn't stay with them. They dominated us physically. I think they had about 18 more field goal attempts than us between the turnovers and the offensive board. So it was total domination. They deserved it. They had a great game tonight. Mike and his staff did a great job, and give them the credit they deserve.
How do you kind of, I guess, step back, view the future of this team, you know, especially getting eliminated this early?
Yeah, it's too early for me to even think about that. You know, you invest so much in the season, and there's so much that goes on. It's so emotional. It's you know, the highs and lows of this business are incredible. That's why we're all kind of addicted to it. You can't find this anywhere else in life. I know I can't. And you have to absorb the lows. We've been really blessed here with amazing players and, you know, multiple championships and finals appearances and the highest of highs. And this is the flip side. This is life. This is how it works. You don't get to stay on top forever. So what happens this summer and going into next year, we'll worry about that later. Right now, I'm just thinking about our guys and how committed they were this year, the connection they had, the effort they put in to put us in a position to at least have a chance. And we clearly weren't good enough, but not for a lack of effort or commitment from our guys. They were great all year. It's incredible when I think about, you know, you think about how difficult and physical this game was. And these guys have had, you know, our core group, 6 finals runs where, you know, you have 24 of these games, you know, in one playoff run. And that's what I was thinking about down the stretch of that game as it was clear we were losing, that, you know, Sacramento dominated, but our guys have been fighting for so long. They're incredible competitors and warriors, and I couldn't be prouder of them. But, you know, we've got an off season where we've got a lot to think about for sure.
Steve, two questions for you. One, what do you think kind of kept Clay from really being able to get anything going on offense for him? Yeah,
I thought they were really physical early in the game. So his first few shots weren't great looks. And so I think he fell out of rhythm. It can happen, you know, as a shooter, you miss your first few and the game isn't coming as easily. And I give them credit for their defense. They were really physical all night and made it tough on us.
And then, I guess, following up with the physicality of Sacramento, a lot of the turnovers, you know, and just their ball pressure on you guys. We talked a lot about needing to not turn the ball over heading into this. What, I guess, kind of caused you guys to cough up the ball so much, and how did that change the momentum of this game? Yeah, the
first half, I think we had 10 turnovers, if I'm not mistaken, and did a better job in the second half. But, you know, some of it was just, you know, some careless decisions. Some of it was there. I mean, De'Aaron Fox had a couple steals on the ball. So the pressure on the ball bothered us. And then I think, you know, later on in the game, you know, Steph was trying desperately to get us back in it, and he was, you know, making some plays where he felt like he had to try to make something happen, and you know, we got a little bit out of our offense at that point.
Steve, over here on the side to your right. following up on Kendra's question on Clay, how difficult was it for you to see him struggle like that, given everything he's meant to the organization, everything he kind of fought through this season to have a very good second half,
Yeah.
to see it end like that?
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
It's tough. It's tough. I love Clay so much. I mean, what he's meant to me in the 10 years we've been together. I've watched him the last couple of years, fighting the feeling of devastation from the injuries. And I've watched him this year really flip his season around with his approach. And I saw him, enjoy the second half of the season and play with a little more freedom, a little more joy. And so tonight was tough to see him struggle. But as I told the guys in there, that, it's all part of being an athlete and being an NBA player. I mean, there's incredible highs and really tough lows, and this was a tough one for Clay and for the whole team. We didn't play very well, and it hurts. So it's all part of it.
Coach, is it inevitable that you mentioned being sentimental? That I don't know how long you've started kind of feeling that way, but like, kind of, what were your thoughts as you went into the locker room, knowing that the locker room may look a lot different? Or perhaps it could look the same.
Yeah, I mean, and it's that way anyway. Even if you're winning, every year you lose guys and bring new guys in, and the relationships that you build in this job are really special because you go through so many emotional highs and lows together, and you form these powerful bonds that last a lifetime. That's what I love about team sports. I mean, my best friends in life are, my former teammates who I played with, and there's something incredibly powerful about, these relationships. And you just know that every year there's going to be changes, and it's part of the business, but doesn't make it any easier.
Steve, it felt like this game was much more like early in the season, the hump you got over, where it's like they're throwing all this at Steph and you need somebody else. You've got a lot of guys who can score, but it feels like you just didn't know who was scoring that night. Just how difficult is that to run an offense when you don't know like which guy it's going to be, or maybe if two guys are having a bad night?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've got to do a better job next year of helping us offensively, helping us find a little more rhythm. I think we got a little too dependent on individual play this year. Last couple of years, really, we've we haven't had the same rhythm and flow that we've had over the last decade, and I think my staff and I have to really look at everything we're doing and try to create a little more offensive flow to help our secondary players, get easier shots and better rhythm.
Just everything that required the second half of the season, going 27-12 to kind of get to this point. Did you sense at all that kind of took a toll, having to win so many games like that just to get here?
No, I mean, I don't think that was why we lost tonight. I think we found a really good formula and a good groove in the second half. To me, what this season is about is how many great teams there are in the West. For us to win 46 games and be the 10th seed, that's you go back in the history of the league, 46 on average probably gets you the 5th seed. We got a bunch of teams going for it. Bunch of teams who have loaded up, really talented, really well coached. So the West is just a bear this year. And, you got New Orleans and Sacramento. One of them is going to be out of the playoffs on Friday. Both have had great seasons. And but you look at everybody above us, Dallas, Denver, Clippers. I know I'm missing several more. It's Minnesota and OKC as the 1 seed. I mean, these are all great teams, and I've never seen a conference so loaded. And that's why, I'm really proud of our guys, and obviously disappointed in the end result. But I can't sit here and say, man, one play here, one play there. This was a tough season because everybody's good out there.
How do you kind of view your season coaching Chris, and how do you view his future or non-future with you guys?
Chris has been fantastic, not only on the court, but the leadership. It is a difficult situation for him that he handled beautifully. But, I mean, he's always been the starting point guard for his team. But you look at our team, and we're pretty small, and even though he's one of our best players, if we want to throw our best players out there, and he's one of them, you start, adding up, Chris, Steph, Clay, we're just, it's not the ideal roster for him. But he was fantastic for us because he became our backup point guard. As I've said many times, our non-Steph minutes were the best they've ever been because of Chris's leadership. When anybody was injured and he played with Steph, it's fantastic. But it's tough to survive. You saw it tonight. I mean, I think their size and physicality overwhelmed us. And so when you look at the combinations that we have out there, it usually kind of separates Steph and Chris and Clay, and so there's not as many minutes as Chris would like. But the way he handled it this year was incredible. He's so professional, such a great mentor for the younger guys. One of the great pros I've ever been around, just his approach and his attitude and his sacrifice. I love coaching Chris, and I really hope we bring him back next year. And like I said, there's a long off season. We got to see how it all plays out.
Steve, in the second quarter, looked for a little while that Kuminga, Pajemski, and Moody were kind of holding you in this game. It's one game, but what does this, under this kind of challenge, tell you about those guys? What does it add to them maybe going into the offseason and next season?
Yeah, I mean, I think all three had good seasons. Moses, was in and out of the lineup, but every time we called on him, including tonight, he really played well. And I think both he and Jonathan in their third years have really gotten better and blossomed. And BP showed that he's for real. As a rookie, there's a reason we played him so much. He's a hell of a player. Trace too. Trace had a tough night, but great experience for him to feel this. And so we got a lot of good young players, and that's very promising. But we'll worry about all that stuff, later on.
If Mike Dunleavy or someone else in the front office asked you, if you believe that Steph, Clay, and Draymond are capable of making another championship run, what would you tell them?
I would say I believe they can. These guys are all still really damn good players. So hopefully we can re-sign Clay. Draymond and Steph are both, under contract. So we're gonna roll it back next year.
Clay is the question mark there, though. You mentioned that. I mean, how imperative do you view it to keep him around?
We need Clay back. I mean, he's, I know he had a tough night tonight, but what he represents for us, the spacing, we're not a deep shooting team. We're a little top heavy. And, Clay's presence means so much to the spacing on the floor, to the flow of the offense. And he's still got good years left. And I know I speak for everybody in the organization. We want him back. Obviously, there's business at hand, and that has to be addressed with Clay's representatives and Mike and Joe. But what Clay has meant to this franchise, as good as he still is, we desperately want him back.
All right, that's it for
Thank you.
Raymond on his way in.